Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Today is Saturday, April 28th, 2012. I am speaking with Mr. Dilip Nath. We are doing this interview in New York City. Mr. Nath, what's your desh or homeland?
Well, I was born in Bangladesh in a city called Mirashrai, and a village called Wahidpur, and in the Union Kamaldaho. Is exactly half a mile south of Nijampur College, but half a mile east of Nijampur College. So that's the close proximity.
So it's quite a village, but it has colleges and urban education
semi-suburban
area. But it's about 30-40 miles north of Chittagong?
I would say about 30 miles or so.
Because I've been to Mirashwar, right? It's and not far from Sitakundu.
Sitakundu is about 4 miles or 5 miles.
So because I've been to Sitakundu also. Now, can you tell me how was your village like?
Well, I was born in the Wahidpur village and lived there until I was 16 years old, and then I moved to USA. While growing up in a village like every other typical Bangladeshi kids, have seen things change over the course of 16 years that I lived.
What kind of change?
Change in a way that when I was growing up, recalling, if I can recall, going to primary school, things was much more different in a sense. You didn't feel the difference. There's a different kind of pressure from different religious group.
Meaning, I should have asked. Meaning, you are a Hindu.
I was by born and by faith. I was born in a Hindu family. Yes, I'm still raised up in a Hindu belief and culture.
So you mean the difference between Hindus and the Muslims? That there was not much. You didn't feel that.
I didn't feel different. Maybe I was not able to recognize the difference much later. But when I went to high school, I began to feel a sense of difference in a sense. The kids that I went to school in a primary school, they were thinking differently. They were start to making a distinction between us and them kind of thinking.
It was Hindus was making the difference.
Well, I would not say all the kids, but there are quite a good number of children or kids at that point. Their thinking was different in a sense. What I have noticed in mid 80s, early 90s, there was a wave of new madrasas education.
The Islamic schools.
Islamic school, and they start to not only come to our regular school, but they were spending a lot more time in madrasas.
So let me go back. So the madrasas kids are going to. First of all, let me step back even. Now, what's the name of your primary school?
It was Wahidpur Primary School, and then I went to my high school was Sharkarhat NR High School.
NR means?
NR Nazar Ali Rubzan High School.
Nazar Ali Rubzan High School.
Yes.
And so, but primary school was mostly Hindu or mostly Muslim or mostly mixed?
It was. In primary school, I think it was not majority. Majority was always a Muslim, but it was quite a number. I think if I have to recall, I think about 30, 35, 40% Hindu kids.
Okay, and then in the high school?
In the high school, I think we outnumber the Muslims in a sense.
How so?
Because there was a lot of Buddhists happened to live right around the.
How far was the high school?
High school about just less than a mile.
So how did you used to go there?
By walking.
By foot. Okay. So, but the high school Hindu Buddhist were majority.
Hindu, Buddhist, and there was some Christian, but by and large Hindu and Buddhist, I think, was a majority in this school.
But still, you felt a discrimination or some sense of difference from the Muslims?
discrimination in a sense that I was,
or differentiation.
I mean, the majority of our faculty was at the high school was Hindus or Buddhists. So in that sense, there was not really discrimination per se. But what I have noticed is that there are students who start to wear Islamic dress and wear tupi, which is nothing wrong by the way.
Yeah.
But they were we used to go out to just to give an example, like we used to go out lunch together, right? And then you see some of the kids, they would be separated out, they would be going to local madrasa, and then they would be, after the school, they would be going there for some sort of training, some sort of learning. And what I began to learn in those madrasa, there was, all they were teaching is really nothing but hatred towards Hindus and Buddhists and others.
Okay.
That's basically my sense of understanding what I get from
you
them.
mentioned before that they were coming from madrasas. So is it that in the high school they were coming from graduating from madrasas, or they were going in the high school going to madrasas for after school work?
They were after school work, and also if I recall, from 6th or 7th grade, there's quite a number of kids, they actually dropped out completely from the high school and then took admission in the madrasa.
Oh, I see.
It was quite strange.
Okay. So they were going into the madrasa education.
And it was like almost became a trend in that, particularly in Mirsharai and in that area, that almost if you wanted to be an affluent family, you have to send your kids to madrasa. That became a real tradition.
I see.
And the madrasa, within a couple of years, the amount of madrasa that was built, it just unimaginable.
Oh, I see. Now, I forgot to ask you, how was your village like? How was your house? Was it a big building, brick building, wooden building, mud building, tin shed? How was the building?
We were fortunate to live in quite a large house. My parents and my grandparents.
How many generations they lived there?
My parents actually throughout their second, third generation, they have moved back and forth. As far as I can recall, 1947, 1965, and 1971. They went to India to take shelter and then came back and start their life again. But our house was quite a large house. We had a huge yard back and the front.
Was it a brick building? Or
it was not a brick, but it was a tin shed and
wooden building. Like the typical Bengali.
Typical Bengali house.
How many people in your family?
We are quite a large family. We're 10 brothers and sisters.
Okay.
Although most of the sisters got married, but it's still quite a large family.
Yeah, that's all right. Now, what was your parents' occupation?
My parents largely the farming, and then in addition to that, we also had a business where my father and my brother used to look after.
What kind of business?
The apparel is our main business, but farming is really the biggest source of our income.
Did your uncles and aunts live nearby?
My father was the only son, so we didn't have.
And your mother worked, of course, at home.
My mother was she was not a typical homemaker. She used to look after the farming.
I see.
It was quite unique in her way that we used to build huge farming.
Okay.
Literally from our home, and you can walk acres after land, and you don't have to walk to anybody's property.
Okay.
You can literally walk on our property and return home.
So you still have that?
Unfortunately, back in 1992, when Babri Marches tension took place, and off on the news, many families lost their home in Mirsharai and Chittagong.
How did they lose their home?
Well, it was basically during that time, Islamic fundamentalist or Islamic group, basically what they have done in the name of saving Islam, in the name of Babri Masjid, as if that we went to India and destroyed the Babri Masjid. So in that retaliation, they decided to burn down the houses. Not only just our house.
Yeah, they burned your house down?
They burned our house in the middle of the night, and not only our house, the houses, village after village, they burned down houses.
What happened to your family?
What happened to my family? I was actually in here during that time. It's a tragedy that in around 11 or 12 o'clock at night I don't remember exact date, I think it's December 2nd or 3rd, it was Friday. Whole village was in a very tense moment. People can feel that something would happen. But knowing that we have a lot of friends in the community, particularly in the Muslim community, that my parents always thought nothing would happen to them. So they were living the life as usual, although with a little bit of a tense. And my brother was doing their businesses. Normally our shop used to close like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And as like every other day, they closed the shop and they came home, I believe around 11 o'clock or so. And then after, but I believe they finished their dinner, and then they were about to go to sleep. My mother was telling my brother she's not very comfortable because there are lots of kids, unknown kids are walking around in our neighborhood, and something could happen because there's a lot of rumor that Hindus house will be burned down and things in those nature. So my brother, what they have done, they actually went to the local member house. Member is a union parishad member who is our very close friend.
Muslim?
Muslim. His name is Nurullah Bhuya. Very close friend of our family. So he went to their house just to get some sense of preparedness if something happened. But it didn't took that long. As soon as my brother left the house, probably didn't even go 2 blocks. Hundreds of people came from back of our house, and they brought kerosene tin. I mean, again, I did not saw that. That I heard
from your parents and
my parents and from the neighbors. It happened to be one of our neighbor, live here, Joshimuddin. His father came here. He, Muslim family again, very good friend of ours. So he told me this story. He said he saw the whole situation, and fire was continued in our house for 7 days because we used to have a lot of rice and different kind of crop in our house. So nothing could stop the fire. It was continued for 7 days. So going back to the story.
And but let me complete. The government or anybody didn't come to help you or douse the fire.
No, well, what I understand that some villager they came, they tried to stop the fire, but again, people was extremely. There are some people came out, but it was afraid of the opposition.
The other Muslims can attack you. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
And then there was, what I understand, our house, and again our neighbor house, and then just continue village after village.
So how did they survive?
Well, my parents.
How many members were there in the house? Then?
My brother, my sister-in-law, my younger sister, 2 of my younger sister at that time, my father and my grandmother. What they have done, they have literally left the house on that night, whatever they had worn. Some of them has basically pajama and typical lungi and sari, just to save their life, and took a shelter in that member house. And they were never able to return the home. And one other scary moment, and there was my younger sister at that time, she was 18 years old, raping was one of the huge, in a way, it's a gang raping, and took place all across the villages, and that scared my parents. It was, what I understand, in 1992 there was not probably a single family were saved somewhere or the other from being a rape victim if they did not left that night. Just across from our home, Professor Dulal Bhumik, he used to teach at Barrier College, and his daughter and I we went to school together. A very beautiful girl. And what my brother said that, couple of guys carried her from her home, and she was screaming and crying to save her life. And she was raped and gang raped and never returned home. Nobody knows what happened to her.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear.
And I think her story was captured in one of the books that written by
Taslima.
Taslima, actually, in Taslima Nasrin's book was well elaborated her story. These are true stories, not, this is the life that I have seen. This is the person that I went to school together.
So did they go back? Did they build a house? Or did they?
No, unfortunately, again, it's not just their, security of their life, but when they see that there is no safety and security for the woman, and they had no choice but to look for a place where they can secure the life of my mother and my sister and others. So I think what happened, again, is a whole story behind it. Again, I hope I can share that with you later on today. So member and others, they suggested that the only place they can go, they should leave the country.
They suggested even?
Yes, like says, similar kind of situation back in 1971. They should move to India for now, and then when things get better, then they can come back and they'll help to rebuild the house. So, of course, when you don't have any security, you don't have a protection from the government, what do? You rely on the people who give you suggestions. So that's exactly what my brother and my parents decided to do. So they literally crossed the border in, I think, a few days later, and became a refugee literally in Kolkata.
So they live in Kolkata now?
They live in Kolkata now, yes.
And what happened to the land and property?
My brother tried to sell some of the farmland. He was successful, I think, selling acre or two, but house we were never able to sell the house or anything.
So the property is
still occupied by the local, I would call them terrorists. They are holding the land till today. And they grabbed the land as they have done to many others.
Yeah, so do you know what happened to your parents? This is awful. Actually, I have seen myself many homes and villages burned in Mirasharai. I didn't know you at that time. I visited that time in 1992 for this pogrom. Do you know what happened in 71? What was the situation?
I was actually born in 1973, but I only know what I heard from my parents and reading the books and hearing the story from others.
Right. But not the book story. I don't want to know. But if you have heard anything about your parents, what they did, how they survived.
My parents, I believe, what I know from what I'm hearing from my parents, my brother and my sister, my mother, they, I think, took a shelter in India, and then my father and my grandmother stood to the very end, and I think right before when the war is really came to a very tense moment, and when they were actually Pakistani army was targeting the Hindus and killing Hindus, I believe they also went to India, and then right after the independence, they came back and they rebuilt the house.
But see, so situation even worse in the sense, but in 92 they couldn't come back, 71 they came back. Any of your brothers and sisters are still living in Bangladesh? Oh, yeah.
My sisters, those who got married before 92, they're still living in.
Have you gone and visited your
in 1995, I went and visited Bangladesh, and I was, in a way, it took a brave initiative that I wanted to go back and kind of, recover our homeland. And I had contacted and visited my school and college, and some of my friends, they gave me a lot of encouragement, say they will help me out to get back home. But the situation that I have noticed, I mean, it is needless to say that Islamic fundamentalists and their movement is such a strong during 1995. I was not brave enough to sacrifice my life in that situation.
Yeah, all right. Were your parents compensated?
Compensated by who?
By the government?
There was the government until today. I mean, I have written a letter to Sheikh Hasina. I have written a letter at that time, Prime Minister Begum Khaleda Zia. As a courtesy, they had never ever even replied my letter. To the credit of our local MP, Engineer Musharraf Hussain, he actually
he's a Muslim.
He's a Muslim, and I called him actually after the program, and he gave me assurance that they will do everything in their power to get back our home and so that my parents can go back. And in fact, he also visited our village right after the burning took place, and I believe he was severely beaten up by the Islamic fundamentalists right on that block.
Oh, I see. See, now, what year you came to this country?
I came in 1990.
1990. So, and just for the record, you rose from there to be a computer specialist and a data specialist and management specialist, right?
Yes, I'm actually, again, I'm the first one to go to actually college in my family. I'm very fortunate. My parents never went to school because my grandfather passed away when they were a little boy and girl. So I'm very much lucky and fortunate to be here and have the opportunity to actually go to school and professionally also being a very successful. Currently, I'm a director of IT service at SUNY Downstate, and I'm very fortunate. And
we are very proud of you.
And thank you.
Yes. Now, let me ask a couple of philosophical questions. What do you say if people ask you, what's your home now? Do you call Bangladesh or would you call West Bengal because your parents are there?
Well, I mean, you always hesitate in a sense, in a very sad way. I was born in Bangladesh and I'm proud to be Bangladeshi. But at the same time, my own country disowned me, in a sense. In a very tragic way.
Yeah. Can I ask you, have you ever thought why in Muslim majority Bangladesh, minority Hindus are not able to have fled in huge number, whereas in Hindu majority West Bengal, Muslims, very few Muslims have left to go to Bangladesh. Actually, Muslims proportionate numbers has increased tremendously. So why is this? That in one case one minority is able to stay, the other case the other minority is not able to live?
See, I think it's a twofold. Number one, you ask anybody, people will tell you, well, a Muslim from Calcutta, they never left India to move anywhere else. Why Hindus were moved from Bangladesh? Well, if you look at the situation, if something happened to a Muslim in Calcutta, government will protect, they will get the right justice by the system. But on the other hand, in Bangladesh, you have no prayer. there is no security for the minority. Okay, and in many instances, you almost, you know, state sponsored this atrocity on minority.
Okay.
So when your government is not there for you, but how can you, you know, fight the battle to live in a country?
So, yeah. So you also have heard of other people who are victimized. Other, like you mentioned,
There are
neighbors.
countless people, countless family that I know that are victimized. It just countless. Like I said, is people that are immediate family, relatives, and then people that I know from the school and their family. Is all over. It's just all over the place.
Have you visited West Bengal? And do you think, how do you see the difference between two Bengals?
Well, I have visited West Bengal in 2 occasions. I'm grateful they gave shelter to my family. Otherwise, my family would not survive. I'm very much grateful to India and to its people. But it's not like home. You don't feel the sense that you are being home. And I always feel that emptiness when I visited my parents.
Sure.
Until today, my father is 93 now. God bless him. Since he moved 1992, I have not seen same, you know, that my father, when I know him in 1992, he has that burning in his, you know, heart that what he's living. He doesn't have any friend there. He basically, you know, living in a home and by himself.
They're renting.
No, we have, you know, we bought a house, built a house.
So,
and,
were they able to do that in their own name, or because did the government put any restriction or anything?
You know, like, it was not easy, to say the least. Although my parents, in reality, they lived there before 1947, and one of my aunt actually lived in Assam.
Okay.
So my father has a heritage in back then, but again, he didn't have any of the documentation to start a life there. It was not an easy journey.
So, no, but your brother is also there. Does he have Indian citizenship, or he just?
Quite frankly, I don't know if he has a citizenship or not.
Yeah, because this is why I'm asking, because this has become a very major issue in West Bengal now. Many people are pushing for to give citizenship to the refugees who came here through persecution. So you know, and there I met people who have said there is a 10 million Bangladeshi Hindu refugees who are stateless. So this is a huge number. So that's why I'm asking.
No, it is actually. I mean, when I was there last time, and I visited some of the area where a lot of Bangladeshi migrated Hinduism, and they don't have the legal paper, and they couldn't find a job there. So mostly what they're doing, odd job in a sense, you know, small business, and it's not easy for them. And in a sense, although the government is tolerating it, but they are not coming outright saying that, you know, we're giving a shelter to all of these people. So life is extremely in a struggle to begin a new journey, and in Kolkata also.
Yeah, I agree. So, can Hindus and Muslims live together?
I mean, look, here in America, we living all kind of different nationality, different religions, and we exercising all the religions. And same
India also.
Yes, and the same token, India have a Jewish, you know, Muslim, Christian, you name it. Okay, they're living happily. Why same cannot happen in Bangladesh? That is really the underlying question. It is an independent, democratic country, but people did not make that independent, not to live the life that we are living today. Everyone hoped that everyone could live peacefully in the same country.
I'm almost in the end. Is there anything else that you have in mind that I didn't ask you?
No, I think we have touched upon many areas, but I just wanted to add this. People in general, in whether it's West Bengal or East Bengal, particularly in Bangladesh, very nice people. I think, by far, they are very friendly, they are very care-loving people. But I think what happened, unfortunately, there was an extremely influence from outside of the country, in a sense, whether it's Pakistan, whether it's Middle East influx of money that want to change the whole dynamic and create a new paradigm in Bangladesh, to create a new regime, to kind of throw the progressive movement and make this a real fundamental Islamic country.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what was the trend behind driving out the Hindus, driving out the Buddhists from the country.
Christians,
and
the tribes.
And the easy way to do it is easy tools is raping
Mm-hmm.
minority women and burning their homes.
Mm-hmm.
That is the easy tools they have used, and they're fairly successful.
Mm-hmm.
And by the same token, even today, even in 2012, this democratic government, I think, failed to secure the minority.
Mm-hmm.
And if this trend continue,
Mm-hmm.
I think I see nothing but a serious danger in South Asia, in that region. And I think we all collectively here in the US and India should be take an initiative. And I think it's way too late, but it's not too late to take the initiative to save the region. Otherwise, it's not going to be a problem just for Bangladeshi Hindu, but I think it would be a problem for all across the country.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking time to share my story with you today.
Thank you.